It's a beautiful morning, beautiful morning. Man. So, this morning I just wanna, if you read the title, you see it. And I know that may be you know, kind of a shock, but you kind of just have to hear me out, right? So, I was just thinking about this situation with the black developer who had his house, who was profiled by Michelle Bishop. She didn't know it was his house, and she ran off screaming. That whole situation. If you don't know about the situation, you can go look it up. Black developer gets profiled. You can go and check it out, go find it. But basically, it was white woman screaming wolf. Yelling wolf, basically, against the black man. Nothing new there. But the whole thing is just crazy. If you watch the video, now she says she didn't know he was black, which okay, if she didn't, fine. But first of all, what you got to understand is that no matter how wrong she was or how right the dude was, it's still going to be people who justify what she did, even though she had every opportunity. And if you watch the video, you will see, she stood on his porch and questioned him instead of just leaving. She said he was following her, and then he pulled into the same driveway of the house that she walked up to. And instead of just walking off and leaving, you see he pulled into the driveway. She stood there the entire time, ring the doorbell, even questioning him. So what kills any argument, or what makes any argument in her defense stupid, is that she had all that time to walk off and leave. She could have kept walking off and did the same thing she did when she finally ran off, right? So panic, all that shit, whatever. If you panic, you leave. There's no justification, because anything you say that any reason you give for why she didn't do what she should have done, there's thousands of more reasons to your one of why she should have done what she should have done, or why she should have done what she didn't do. So, the whole argument, from a common sense standpoint now, the whole argument is, moot. Whether she knew he was black or not. Right? She said she didn't. But, let's just take the scenario that she did know, right? That he was black. People who come to her defense are just going to say, well, she has that right to be like that about black people. Look at the crime stats. Right? And look at the particular crime stats now, because even per capita, for some crimes, blacks do not lead in those categories per capita. Some crimes, you can go and find out which crimes yourself, but yeah, when it comes to robbing, probably murder, and carjacking and all that shit, yeah, blacks per capita are probably going to lead in that category. So in her defense, people will say, well, she had a right to feel that way if it was a black guy. Statistically, per capita, she had a right. Okay. Let's say she did. Okay, fine. Then she should be able to say, if that's the case, if she knew that he was black, she should be able to say, you know what? That was a nigga, and I was scared because he was a nigga. She should be able to say that. And the reason she should be able to say that is because then we wouldn't have to have all of these mental gymnastics that they'll do to try to justify somebody's bullshit action. Right? So if she did know he was black, and she, and people in her defense would say, oh, well, she should feel that way. because of the stats. Okay? But see, that's what they like to try to hide behind. Things like that. They justify the fact that per capita the stats may be, skewed one way. And it could be true, What more likely it is true. I say more likely because there's so much that goes into the crime stats. I don't really have time to get into it. Yeah, we're the ones doing it, but it's so much that goes into that. But anyway, they will use the stats to hide behind the actual fact that no matter what, even if the stats weren't where they want, and even if the stats do not match where they want them to be, they will find a stat that again, it will just prevent a lot of the mental gymnastics that they go through to try to deny, their bias and their hate. When it's clear. When the situation is absolutely clear. So just to keep from having to, go back and forth all day and, throw up non sequiturs and things that don't matter when it comes to these type of situations, involving, black and white people. Listen, it would really just make life so much easier if we would stop canceling people for being racist. And for one, it actually needs to be, people really need to understand the definition of racism. They really don't understand the book definition of racism because they actually just associate it with bigotry, right? Racism, definition-wise, is no more than a preference, but a preference, thinking that your preference is superior. That's all it is. And it's based on race, right? So you just feel that, bottom line, you just feel that your race is superior. That's what racism is. And the isms, and it's really no more than a preference because it applies to everything, right? Like, people discriminate for 1,000 fucking reasons. You have classism. They feel like their class is superior. Shortism. You feel like short people are superior, or you may not like short people. Tallism. You feel like being tall is superior. Like, however, but it really boils down to a preference of wanting to be with people who have the same skin color as you. Again, just like if you want to be with people with the same hair color as you, or people with the same height as you, or people with the same, weight as you, people at the same age as you. People discriminate for 1,000 fucking reasons. Now, race is most prevalent because, it's the most noticeable for the most part. Tall and short is pretty noticeable, but, you see somebody coming down the road, unless they're just extremely tall, you don't really know their height until they get up on you. But you can see what color they are from a mile away. You have to be tremendously tall for someone to notice your height, coming from a mile away. If they can see you a mile away, you have to be tremendously tall for them to be like, oh wow, that's a big nigga. So the actual definition of racism at its core is a preference of what you feel your race is superior, is superior. But just like with any other preference, you can feel like because you have red hair, you're superior. You can feel like because you're tall, you're superior. Or you're pretty, you're superior. Or you're ugly, you're superior. Like, it boils down at the end of the day to a preference, right? And people will always discriminate based off of their preferences, not just race. People will discriminate from a multitude of preferences. Again, race is just the one that's most prevalent because it's the one that's most noticeable. But to move on, people should not be crucified because they choose to be with or prefer to be with a certain demographic. And if they want to feel it's superior, fine. That's them. The only thing is that, that stuff shouldn't creep into politics. It shouldn't creep into, decision making for everybody. But you can't tell who actually is because everybody gets canceled for it. Like, no, make it okay for people to show their preferences, even if it is racism. Like, make it okay for people to say this shit, y'all, because this is the only way we know how to actually deal with them. As long as we make it a bad thing for people to show their hate or to show their preferences or their biases, then we make it easy for them to hide behind other things like statistics, to hide behind other things like, political parties, or ideologies. You see, because you make it a bad thing to show your bias or to show your preference. Like, let them do it. See, because now, just like with the thing that Trump is doing, right? Well, Trump is not doing it. He's just placating. But Congress would actually have to do it. But all of these EOs directed towards hiring merit-based now. So now it's supposedly merit-based, right? But it was a reason why they had to have those initiatives in the first place, because it was supposed to be merit-based the first time, and it wasn't. And it won't be merit-based now. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me with this merit-based shit. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Like, oh my God, are we really still trying to deny the fact that it doesn't matter your education, it doesn't matter your experience. If you know the right motherfucker, you getting the job. Like, why? Like, whoa, hold up with the woke right bullshit. Because that's all it is. That's the wokest, rightest bullshit of them all. Like, of them all. No. There's no way you justify them. There's no way. Oh my God. I mean, to really think, that some shit like that could fly. No. You cannot in the same breath, say that shit. Merit-based. Like, it's just amazing. Like, I'm really speechless. Nothing is merit-based. Nowhere. Not for the most part. Yeah, it's merit-based for the low-level motherfuckers, but ain't shit merit-based in fucking industry? In anything. No. Nothing is merit-based. Everything is who you know and not what you know. See, so they're able to hide behind the bullshit because, again, it was a reason why these initiatives were put into place, because it was supposed to be merit-based before they instituted affirmative action. But it wasn't. And it will not be merit-based now. Because, again, it's who you know. It's not what you know. And people will hire those they are comfortable with. And just by design. Most companies, most industries are owned by white people. So white people gonna hire white people. It doesn't make it fucking merit-based. No. That's bullshit. That's conservative, woke, right bullshit. It does not make it merit-based. It makes it so I can hire who I want to hire, which, again, people are going to hire those who they are comfortable with. Like, they'll bring in a token, nigga here or there, whatever, for the most part. But people gonna hire who they're comfortable with, because it's all about who you know, not what you know. And why are people like, that's crazy? And see, that's the mental gymnastics that I talk about, that the woke right does to try to justify their bullshit. We're gonna really sit here and act like that life is about, and industry and getting jobs is about who you know and not what you know. Are we really gonna sit there and act like that? At least for the most part. Of course it applies to some people, but there's low level people who don't know nobody. If you know somebody, you don't need no fucking interview. You don't need HR. You don't need qualifications. You don't need certifications. Are we serious? Are we fucking serious right now? Acting as if people need any of that shit when they know somebody. Like, come on, man. This is like, we know, like, no. See, but again, when you don't allow people to be racist, when you don't allow them to be biased and show their prejudices and their preferences, when you don't allow people to show that, they can hide behind shit like this. This is the prime example of hiding behind that shit. Because, again, like, my God, it's wild. Which, even with the so-called DIE and even with affirmative action, most companies are still majority white. Like, even with all of that. So it's not even like it had a big dent. It's not even like affirmative action and the new DIE shit made a dent in any significant way when it comes to industry. It's still majority white because this is a majority white country. So there's no way we will ever outpace whites in industry and this and that, maybe per capita at some point, but not in whole numbers, not in real numbers. So even with that, the percentages are still astronomically low. So they're about to drop even lower. And it has nothing to do with being merit-based. George Bush Jr. did not get elected off his merits. Come on, man. America is not merit. We are profit-driven, nepotism-driven, ultra-capitalistic country. We are not merit-based. No one gets anything on merit in this motherfucking country. Hardly even in the military. The military really ain't even based on merit. Because depending on who you are, you're going to jump up through the ranks in that son of a bitch. Happens all the time. Happens all the fucking time. Nothing is merit-based in fucking America. Nothing. Rand Paul did not get elected because of his merits. He got elected because his daddy was a politician. Again, George Bush did not become president, Jr., because, and for anyone to try and deny, try and justify bullshit, that's what the woke right would do. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Right. Hypocritical bullshit. They can hide behind laws like this. Laws like this. Let these people say what's on their heart, man. Stop canceling people for being prejudiced. Stop being prejudiced. Stop canceling people for showing their biases. Let them, please. It will save a lot of, oh my God, like a lot of argument if you just let people, say, yes, I did it because he was black. Yes, I hate them. So like, it helps us to see, okay, hey, we don't have to fuck with them. But when you cancel people, when you stop people from expressing that shit, then you give them an excuse, you give them a shield to hide behind. Because now all they're going to do is find the and they hide behind it. And now shit like this can happen. Now we can lose our federal protections and shit You know, again, which they weren't making that big of a fucking deal anyway. And that just goes to show you how much of a crybaby the woke right is, and how much of, you know, slow thinking little bitches they are. Because the shit wasn't making a big dent anyway. Even with affirmative action, even with DIE. Like, minorities are still at the bottom, percentage-wise. We are still at the bottom, percentage-wise, even with it. So even with the small amount of effect that affirmative action did have, because white women ended up benefiting off affirmative action more than any black person, more than all black people combined. So the small percentage that affirmative action and the DIE has affected, well, I'm gonna say affirmative action because the DIE is some bullshit, but the small percentage, the small effect that it did have, that's just too much for them, even though they are still the fucking majority. What a bunch of whiny fucking bitches. Which, you know, hey, that's what they want. They want complete 100% them, which, hey, is fine. If they want that, let them have that. But let it, like, make it okay. So the people in the middle can be like, oh, you know what? So many people, you know, and see, it would just make it so much easier, man. Because, again, imagine actually being able to, you know, see, actually being able to say, oh, yeah, that motherfucker do hate us, so I don't want to fuck with them. I don't want to shop with them. Imagine that. Imagine it. Imagine having that freedom. Problem with that. So we'll never go color his skin. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, like I'm just saying, let us see these people for who they are so we can form decisions. There's no way we can make informed decisions when you got people saying, oh, let's make it merit-based, when we know good and goddamn well, sure enough, America, and I'm gonna use my abundance here for a minute. I'm gonna use some double negatives for a second. Sure enough, America ain't no fucking merit-based shit in this fucking country for most folks. Because most people know somebody who knows somebody. So they're able to hide behind that. Let these folks be racist, man. If they want to be racist, let these folks be biased. Let them have their preferences. If they want. But yeah, man, it's turn the light on. Yeah, man, it's. Hold on just a moment, see. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, man. It's, you know, the hypocrisy is real though. The hypocrisy is real. Let people say their biases. You know, let people be biased. Let people give their preferences. You know, let people say how they feel. Because when you don't, stuff like this can happen. You know, like I said, affirmative action was having little effect, very little effect. You know, blacks and minorities are still a small percentage of come on, man. So many companies don't even have black people working for them. So like, but it's all just a gesture for them to show their hate. But they can hide behind all these words. They can hide behind merit based when everyone damn well knows it's who you know and not what you know. the things I do. You know, it's not based off me. It's based off who I know. Like, come on, dude. Everybody knows that's how the world works. But that's what's allowed to happen, man. When you try to chastise people all the time, when you try to shun people, when you try to counsel them for not feeling the same way you do, for being hateful. You can't counsel people for hate, you know. But see, that's why you can, you know, it really would just like, man, it would make stuff so much easier, and especially for black people, it would really make it easier for black people if folks would just like show, because you know people are so obsessed with black people, you know, like, man, you know how bad they just want to say nigger, like they love it, they can't help it, like they are obsessed with saying nigger. You know how they would love that? But then we'll be able to see. Like, we'll actually be able to see. And it will wake so many people up. Like, you know, it will wake up so many people. And then it will really show that, you know, the blacks who always want to wag a finger at black people, it will really show that they actually hate black people too. Because then it would, you know, they won't be able to hide behind the fact of, you know, the white this, the white that, you know. Then they would actually have to see that, oh, yes, this man is telling me he hates me, and I'm still over here with him defending him. So it would actually make it so much easier for us to pick out the ones who, you know, are the skin folks, but not kin folks. Like, it would really help us out so much if, like, and that's really how, like, let's legalize it. Like, let's make it okay to be hateful. Let's, you know, advertisers stop shunning people. Like, no, like, don't drop nobody just because they're being hateful. Keep, you know, hey, please don't. Let these folks show their hate so that we know how better to make all type of decisions, political decisions, you know, who we shop with, you know, who we spend with, who we socialize with. Like, come on. It'll make it so much easier because, you know, I work too hard for my money to give it to people who, you know, who don't like me just because of my skin color. So I want to know who these people are. Make it okay for them. And then let the people choose. But they should not be shunned. Like I said, they should not lose their marketing. Like, because we want to know the companies that are, you know, okay with supporting it too. Y'all gotta stop it, man. Because until then, you know, that lady who did that, you know, that white lady who did that to that man, she'll always be able to scream and run for nothing when she could have walked off, and she'll always be defended when all she had to do was leave. She had every opportunity to just walk off and leave, but they'll cope and come up with every excuse, panic, this, that, this, and all that shit that don't matter when all they had to do was walk off. That was it. That was it. Because if it was the other way around, there was a black woman screaming and running, they would have came up with every excuse of why she could have walked off. And it's just so tiring just seeing the hypocrisy that the woke right does. How they just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, you know. It's crazy. But anyway, guys, I'm about to get to it. Y'all have a good day. See y'all later.